This is going to be a tutorial on beating Animal Well any percent glitched in under 4 minutes. I'm not going to teach the fastest strats in this, but I'm going to teach what I think are the safest strats that will still get you under that 4-minute barrier. Though realistically, these strats are only losing like 15 or 20 seconds to what I normally do when I'm going for PBs. So to start with some miscellaneous stuff, I'm going to be throwing terms like buffering and coyote time around. And buffering basically just whenever you're in the air, landing back on the ground, you can input jump before you hit the ground, and you will jump immediately once you hit the ground. There's a pretty generous window for this. You obviously can't input jump at the peak of your jump, but there's a pretty good window, and there are some useful strats with buffering jumps, and sometimes you won't want to buffer jumps. So I will call those out explicitly. As for coyote time, that's basically just talking about when you leave a ledge, you have I don't know how many frames, but you have a good amount of frames to jump. So like you can see I'm jumping off of mid-air just because I'm leaving the ledge. As for stuff outside of the game version I would recommend using is the PC version. Specifically, if you have access to a keyboard with a number pad, because if you have a number pad and you turn on numlock, then you can play songs with the numpad, and this really helps with diagonal song inputs, which there will be in this run. But if you don't have one, no worries, it only loses like a couple of seconds. Second place at time of recording is on Switch. I would also highly recommend, if you can, basically just if you're not on PS4 or PS5, because I don't think that has rebinding, to bind pause to one of your triggers, because those aren't bound to anything anyway, and we want to pause buffer later. Specifically, I think it's good to bind pause to your right trigger because it makes pause uh, buffering really easy. I'm buffering 1 to 2 frames pretty consistently just by using pause and the cancel button. Another thing, if you are on Switch, swap confirm and cancel is on by default, and you really want to turn that off because there's a trick at the beginning of the run that you can't do with swap confirm and cancel on. And finally, to do speedruns of this game, we have a rule that you need to have the timer, which you can see in the top right corner of the screen. To get the timer, you can just play the well song to get to the end of the game. Just spam down right, up left. Go through this bird, and go into this crevice, and there will be a bunny with a timer. Pick it up, pause the game, go to options, and you'll see showtime, and you need that enabled for your runs to be verified. And with all that out of the way, you can actually start looking at the run. So I have a video of the route that I think you probably should be using to start out with. Doesn't have like any required super tricky disc jumps except for in one part that is unfortunately unavoidable. We do get the disc in this route because skipping the disc makes it really, really hard and more inconsistent to get sub 4. It's technically possible, but not worth doing. And getting the disc in general is just faster and will give you a more leniency leeway for that goal. So, to start, we're gonna select a new file. We're gonna press confirm to skip the cutscene, and then we're gonna time pressing cancel and immediately confirm again to break out of the flower, I guess, and jump out immediately, all while holding left. And you can see my controls in the bottom left corner. I'm weird and just like using movement with the arrow keys, but because this game doesn't have keyboard rebinding, I'm using controller for the rest of my inputs, which makes stuff like pause buffering and switching items kind of easier actually. Uh, but yeah, I like the layout. So yeah, WASD are just movement. Uh, R2, if you see that pressed, is pause. Circle is cancel. X is confirm. Square is use. Triangle, I don't think I use it, but swap item left. Right bumper is swap item right. And pause is item menu, which I never use. So I'm gonna select the new game. And yeah, really quickly, press confirm to skip the cutscene, and press cancel, and then confirm. Like, yeah, you can see here it's one frame from each other to jump out. There's a precise jump you can do here to not slow down, but don't worry about it if you have to slow down or accidentally lose speed. We're going to grab this egg chest. I don't like quite do an optimal turnaround, but like you're going for sub 4, it doesn't matter. And I like to jump when I hit the middle of this structure thing so that I get on the stairs without slowing down. And I'm gonna be explaining a lot of visual cues I use to jump just so you don't waste unnecessary time of movement. So I'm gonna jump from this plant, do a coyote jump off of this little piece of ground, and then just do 3 jumps, and hold left at the peak to slide against the wall, then immediately hold right once I'm through. Don't worry about like doing any of this too perfectly. Then, oh yeah, and jumping up ladders is gonna be faster, so whenever you can, jump up ladders. But missing ladder jumps isn't too slow, and I would recommend timing them instead of mashing for it. Here I jump from the middle, like this take grass. Don't know if it's grass, worms, or a plant. And then I buffer a jump while holding left, and it gets me up to this ledge without losing time. Just more jumping. Just making my way through the tutorial and into our room with our first major skip. So, I'll just let it play out first. That's tutorial skip. What we're doing is we're going to the crank, interacting with it, and then holding left and making the crank rotate 1 full rotation. This is something you can kind of get a feel for, but you see it's like pointing upright initially, and I hold left until it's pointing about upright again. That it does seem exactly like 1 full rotation actually. And then jumping into the water while holding right the whole time. You don't need to hold jump or anything, that's a myth. Do not press jump either, otherwise you won't get the bounce. Just hold right and you will bounce out of the water. If you don't rotate the crank perfectly 1 full rotation, if you do it a little bit over, you can try delaying your jump to compensate. If you do it a little bit under, you can try jumping a little bit early to compensate. Just something that you get a feel for. I'm just gonna do a bunch of jumps out of here. Also note that when you're jumping out, or in general, whenever there's a ladder surrounded by 2 walls, you want to be in the center of the ladder. Otherwise, you'll bonk against the ceiling, and it will kill your jump momentum and lose time. Like, I think I did bonk against the ceiling there and lost a bit of time, but it's whatever. This room, I just like to jump when I hit the grass. And jump out. You want to save your game here, because we're gonna use this. We're gonna death warp back here 2 times. So yeah, you just want to save your game there. You probably want to eat these fruit. I don't know why I didn't in this demo run, but it's whatever. Also, note, do not buffer this jump, otherwise you will not get on top of here. Just wait until you hit the ground and then press jump again. You'll get up just fine. And I like to jump from around the center of this wooden thing. Turn around, go up the ladder, up from the center of here, around, go up the ladder. Hit the switch, that's important. I hit it really late, but I'm gonna need it for an egg very shortly. And in this room, well, once I get back to that room, I'm gonna fall off of this ledge when I enter the room and immediately start buffering a bunch of jumps. So all these jumps are buffered, and what's this gonna do? What this is gonna do is it's gonna let us skip coyote time that we would otherwise get from falling off of this ledge over here. And it just lets us pick up the disc a little bit quicker. So we got the disc. I'm not gonna do any mid-air disc jumps in this run because it's like a variable 2-frame window. It's really bad. You don't need them to get sub 4. They're not even really hard, they're just inconsistent, and they don't save that much time. So, I'm gonna fall down, hold left, then I actually screwed up this movement a little bit. As soon as you get off of this ledge, you want to hold right, and you can fall down this ladder without actually touching the ground, which I didn't do. Then hold left down this ladder, and just buffer a jump after you fall off of this ledge. I'm gonna make our way to second egg, I believe. For egg text boxes too, I highly recommend that you do not mash through them. Just try to time your confirm or cancel press to clear the text box. I'm just holding left some more. I'm jumping from around this tile so that I don't waste extra time in the air. And this room is actually simpler than it might initially seem. So this first crank, I'm gonna hold right until it's facing leftwards, like so. And the second crank, I'm gonna hold left, do one full rotation, then have it also face leftwards. And if both of the cranks are facing left, or if like you imagine the cranks as vectors and the sum of their direction is left, so like if this one's going up left and this one is going down left, then the water cycle should line up. And you can be within like 1 or 2 cranks of it, and you'll get first cycle. But even if you don't get first cycle, you're wasting like a second at most. This next room, I'm just holding left the entire time. As long as you don't land on this bottom bubble, you can actually just hold left and get onto this ledge. Otherwise, you might need to jump on the last bubble. I accidentally hit the jump button on my keyboard here. Yeah, don't do that. That just wasted time. Getting this egg and immediately canceling out of the text box. You can use the cancel button to confirm text boxes, even though it shows the confirm button. I bring it, yeah, like it's showing press X, but I'm pressing circle just so that I can press circle right out of it to jump. I'm just drawing my thumb from circle to X. Yeah, this room, you kind of just hold left and jump on the bubbles. It's not actually that bad. You can go over or under in this room, but I would kind of recommend going under just because if you ever get better at this game, there is a more complicated strat for this room that requires that you go under. I'm just following this route to hit the buttons. The dog might hit you here, and like, yeah, just be ready for that. This room, after I enter it, I'm jumping just so that I fall down quicker, so I can skip the coyote first. Otherwise, you'll brush up against like this wall and lose a little bit of time. And this room is the most complicated room in the game. This is probably where you'll do most of your resets when you're just starting out. There are two major reset points, and this is one of them. So I'm gonna let this play out and then boot up the game to show you what I'm thinking about and what I'm doing. So those are the only disc jumps I'm gonna make you do. So if I boot into the game, go to this room, so there's kind of like two ways to do this first jump. You can either assume you're gonna bonk your head, or you can try to line up with the hole so you're not bonking your head, which changes the timing slightly. Since I like to go fast, I just assume I'm bonking my head, because the dog is chasing you, and if you take too long, the dog will start killing you. So I like to jump from here, throw the disc, hold nothing, jump, and then hold right. It's kind of a complicated series of inputs. I'm also not doing a good job of showing it right now, because I'm failing a bunch. But, yeah, you really want to practice this part. I'm holding right too late, too early for some reason. But just do this part over and over again. You're probably gonna fail this a couple of times and reset here a good amount before you finally start getting consistent at it. I swear I'm more consistent at this than what I'm showing right now. And then once you get up, I like to stand 1 or 2 tiles from the wall, jump while facing left, and throw the disc. And then once I get under this lantern, I'm gonna jump, hold right, and throw the disc to the right off of this wall. And then you ride into this little alcove with the chest. So yeah, just throw the disc against the wall, jump under the lantern, hold right, throw the disc again. Now I'm killing this too. To be fair, I don't go for the strat, but it's technically the easier way to do it. But, yeah. I mean, that's all my advice for this room. You just want to practice it. And as you can see, there's the telephone right next to it. So, yeah. Just gotta get to it. I even fail this in the practice run. Because I think I held right early. Yeah, like, I'm holding right, and therefore I'm bonking my head against the wall. Whereas here, I get on the disc. Yeah, I'm already jumping, which means that the input display hasn't updated, but I jump and then I'm holding right. Then I get up. And yeah, you can see that I'm jumping from under the lantern, holding right the entire time, holding, and then pressing disc again close to the peak. If the dog hits you here, which he might, not a big deal. If you think he's gonna hit you, then stay facing right, because you'll be knocked back to the left. So that's just how knockback works in this game. You can eat this fruit if you think you don't have enough health. You want at least 2 hearts in this section. You might want 3 hearts to be safe, but I don't think you're actually gonna be... Most of the time you'll be hit 1 time, not 2. And I'm jumping from one of these pillars. Frame advance is failing me right now. I'm jumping from right next to this root from this pillar just to skip Coyote time going down the ladder. This room is actually way simpler than it might seem. I'm just gonna jump and bonk my head into the ceiling, then hold left. And as long as you're brushing against this wall, you'll just land on this spike without taking damage. I'm just gonna jump and throw the disc a bunch to break these spikes. I go into the center of these two spikes and throw the disc to break both of them at once. And yeah, just walk to the left, break the spike, and go and get this kind of secretive egg. I get hit here, which is actually kind of good because at this point you want 1 health. But yeah, this part you'll probably be hit. I think there might be a chance you won't be, but in general you'll probably be hit. Then I just jump up and break that spike, break 2 of the spikes, and then you can just jump over the other 2. And this part is pretty simple. You just jump and press a disc at the same time. If anything, you want to press disc a little before you press jump though. Then don't hold any direction and you'll land on the disc. And then as long as you're under the ceiling, whether you're like here or here, then you can just jump and you'll make it to where the bubble wand is. And then you just want to die. And immediately after dying, I'm gonna hold right and fall down this ladder. Hold left and fall down this ladder. Then, I'm doing like kind of, I don't know, this strat requires a good bubble jump. But I'm holding left, landing on this lower collision, getting a good bubble jump, getting on here, and then opening the chest. Guess I forgot to explain good versus bad bubble jumps. I'll do that now. You should really get used to doing optimal bubble jumps. And what I mean by that is that instead of pressing bubble and jump at the same time, which I think a lot of people do, especially if they just like found this in their casual playthrough, you can, well, at least on controller, roll your thumb from jump to bubble, but in general, just delay pressing bubble after pressing jump about like, I don't know, it's not too long. I think like optimally like 10 frames or something at 60 FPS, but yeah, you'll save a good amount of time if you're getting max height or at least good height on your bubble jumps, because this is much slower than just doing this. But anyway, for this room, you can't do a good bubble jump like that. Then you can always just fall down without holding anything, do 2 bad bubble jumps, and you'll get up just fine. So back to the video. You're grabbing this egg, you're tapping left until you fall off this ledge, and releasing left, then holding left again. Just so that you die to this ghost, and respawn back here. And once you respawn, you want to start bubble jumping up left. You can make this with 8, or actually, optimally, if you have 7 really good bubble jumps, you can make this. But I would just do 8 if you have decent bubble jumps. Otherwise, just do whatever amount is working for you. Get this chest. You can blow a bubble here, and then just do 3 decent bubble jumps to get all the way up. Then I'm gonna jump up this ladder. This egg is, I think, yeah, it's the only route difference between world record route and what I'm showing you right now. World record would get this right after getting disc, but getting it now loses, I don't know how much, it's a good amount of seconds, but you're cutting out doing annoying disc jumps. Just getting it now. I kind of screw up my movement there. You have like a really good turnaround and land on this ledge, and you won't be bonking a bunch. here, just fall up this platform and buffer a jump to get down quicker. Yeah. Falling down here is actually kind of weird. It's like kind of something you need to practice. But I fall down, I brush against this wall to the left, then once the screen hits, I want to brush against this wall to the right, and then hold left again. And then I screw up my movement in the screen too, actually, but you just want to coyote jump off of this platform and you'll land down here. Otherwise, you have to wait out coyote frames. Because I screwed up my movement, I was confused and jumped here and lost an amount of time, but it doesn't matter. Now I'm just making my way to the flute, and then we're gonna do the most complicated thing in this run. Maybe the second most complicated, depending on who you ask. Screw up my movement here too. I want to do a late coyote jump off of this, so you land directly on the chinchilla. Then once I fall off the chinchilla, I buffer a jump so I land onto here, and you can just do 2 okay-ish bubble jumps to get to the flute. Once you get the flute, if you somehow don't know about the song at this point, you're gonna play the right, right, left, left, down, down, up, up song. I'll probably put these songs in the description. That's gonna take you to the warp room. Once you're in the warp room, you want to line up with this pillar. As long as you're like here or slightly further, then that's fine. You just press bubble and jump at the same time. Then you pull out the flute, and we're gonna do the first and only glitch in this run, I guess, which just beats the game for us, basically. So, and this is where you would really want numpad. We're gonna play the slot in right, down, left, up, right, down, up, left, up, right, right, down, left, up, down, right, down, left, up, left. Now the final input of the song is up, right. But instead we're gonna hold down without pressing the use button. And we're gonna start pause buffering. This is why I like having pause on one of my triggers, because you can get out of the pause menu with the cancel button, and therefore I just press cancel and pause on my trigger with one hand, because I'm using the other hand to play the flute, and pause buffering 1 frame. And we're looking for this frame when you can see that the bubble is perfectly round. And once it's perfectly round, by the way, when pause buffering, we want to hold down, because if you look at the bubble animation cycle, you can see that it's going kind of slow without holding down, and it's going much faster when holding down. So once pause buffering to this frame, you're gonna hold upright and use, and if you're using a numpad for this, you can actually just hold numpad 5 and numpad 9, and that will do it for you. And then we're gonna pause buffer until... So if we get this frame, it means one of 2 things. Either it just outright failed, that's kind of just a random thing that happens if you're holding down for the wrong warp for whatever reason. I think it's only if you're holding down, not completely sure, but this can randomly fail. But this also might mean that you got a 1-frame pause buffer when we were looking for a 2-frame pause buffer, but if you just do another 1-frame pause buffer from here, you're fine. I did not get it there. You do that again. So we're at the right frame. Pause buffer, pause buffer. And if you got the 2-frame pause buffer right, then you're gonna enter this room without having voided out. Now you can just unpause, press jump out of the coyote, or because you get coyote time when you're playing the flute for whatever reason. Just make your way to the end of the game. So, let me show you what failing looks like. Well, I kind of already showed that. Oh, no, that was actually good. So I'm gonna just not pause again here, or pause late. Oh yeah, you can see I ended up in that room because I just failed the pause buffer. And you can see here I ended up in this room, but I don't have the flute out because I failed the pause buffer. And what doing the pause buffering does is it just essentially prevents you from voiding out when doing the wrong warp. Because, I don't know, there was something about like wrong warps checking for water collision, and if you pass water with the wrong warp, then you'll void out, but not if you pause. Now, just completing the video. Yeah, somehow I got a fast wrong warp there. You can bubble jump here if you want, but don't worry about it if you don't want it. And yeah, the game in 326 with a couple of mistakes. Nice autoplay. But yeah, not too complicated. There's certainly faster strats you can do, and I might commentate my world record run eventually to help explain those more. But I think I got out everything I wanted to say. And obviously, if you have any questions, just ask in the comments, and I will probably respond to them pretty quickly.